conquer and we're going to take some. Is that understood? Yes, sir. That's what we're going to do, sweethearts. We are going to go and get some. All right, people, on the ready line. Are you me? Yeah! Are you me? Yeah! What are you?
Autism Acceptance Month is a good time to recognize the talents, contributions, and diversity within the autism community. Sign up and read informative articles for free about autism and other disabilities at www.epmagazine.com.
Monotony. It comes in all shapes and sizes. Dull, tedious, just plain boring. But what is this? A contender, perhaps? Something unboring by the looks of it. Jabs right at dull, an uppercut to tedium, something that keeps you on your toes, keeps your head on a swivel, a knockout punch to your old, boring workouts. Welcome to Fight Camp.
Oscar Mike Radio is a proud podcast partner of Reach Across America Radio, heard every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Sunday at 8 a.m. Eastern. They're also big supporters of the nonprofit I Got Your Six, Two Lives at Once. And with every wreath you sponsor through Oscar Mike Radio, $5 goes back to this great organization dedicated to making a difference in the lives of veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders battling PTSD. Two Lives at Once pairs these brave men and women together with dogs rescued from kill shelters. In this way, two lives are saved at the same time by saving each other. Donate now. Go to reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio to help. That's reachacrossamerica.org/Oscar Mike Radio.
I remember a time when I was in a not so good place, and these games and these activities and being able to come and have the camaraderie that we have here, it makes me feel like I'm not alone. There are people here that have been through what I've been through. It makes me feel like I don't know, I'm part of something great.
Just let yourself go. Give it a try.
How's it going?
Going well. It's that new guy energy.
Oh, he's back. That's the fourth time he's done that.
Is he peeking or probing?
Speaking with serious intent to probe.
Alpha 2, we might have guys starting to move on our position.
Copy, we're getting a buildup of activity here too.
Yeah, I definitely see weapons at this point.
Yeah, we have definite massing.
We're seeing activity converging to your north and south.
This is Frogman 6 Romeo. We need evac at our last known position. We have severely wounded. Who's the severely wounded? It's not you. Is it me? Who is it? No, it's not you. No, it isn't.
Copy 1, we're in contact 2.
You coming to you or you coming to us?
Stand by. We'll let you know when we're inbound.
Let's move!
Here's the plan.
EA 5 minutes, over.
The scouts are gonna lead us out, and I'm bringing up the rear. Pop smoke. Smoke out. We are all coming back.
OP1, they are en route to you.
3 minutes out! 3 minutes! Eyes on me and only me. Has anyone looked at you? Claymore, rock me, dude. 2 minutes out! 2 minutes!
Where are you guys?
Look for the blood and the smoke!
Multiple bad guys trying to get to our position.
Inbound! Inbound! Find cover!
1 minute out!
We have enemy on our building and all surrounding buildings.
Roger that, stand by. Going hot.
We gotta get ready, man. This is gonna hurt.
On my count. 1, 2, 3.
Hello and welcome to Oscar Mike Radio. My name is Travis, Marine Corps veteran and your host. Oscar Mike Radio is co-produced with Sinister One Productions. What's your podcast doing? I want to thank my sponsor, Joyce Asack of Asack Real Estate, and my supporters, Army National Guard veteran Travis Arnold with Case on Shaving Company, Exceptional Parent Magazine, thank you, Faye, and Fight Camp, be your strongest combination. I have another Marine Corps guest on with me right now, and Chesty's looking down from the pearly gates where he has his permanent duty watch, smiling on what we're about to do. And I met my guest at the Military Creator Conference. Thank you, James Van Prooyen in Marah, Lago. And it just became something like, wow, this guy's really onto something. So I want to welcome Lechon Kirb to Oscar Mike Radio. Lechon, thank you so much.
Man, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We met at Military Creator Conference, and you were part of the tracks about the business side and what we're doing. You talked about AI. You talked about the need to be able to have good processes around what any business does and how your company helps put people into what you do. And by you getting to know them, you can help them grow their business in a way they might not understand. So we got a lot to unpack, But Chesty is watching. We're both Marines, Semper Fi. Give us a little, run through of what your Marine Corps experience was like.
My Marine Corps experience, I guess the best way to say it is like it's the most terrible and the most incredible experience you could ever have. That's really what it looks like from day to day. It's excruciating. It's invigorating. It's every day you're kind of walking into the unknown, and you're really immersed in this environment that is quite complex in many different ways. A lot of people that you get to meet and you build friendships with are coming from different walks of life, different cultures, and then when you're all kind of thrust into the Marine Corps, it has its own culture that you all need to kind of abide by, right? So it's complex to say the least, and my journey was complex, just like many others. Yeah.
What was your MOS?
I went in as 2311, which is like ammo tech and explosives. Came out of Redstone Arsenal, explosive and disposal training down there, and then went to Camp Lejeune for a couple of years, and then I got transferred to Marine Security Forces.
MSF. I had a corporal who was MSF, and he wasn't security guard like a couple other Marines I'd met, but security forces Marines were. They were changed and changed. Like the Marine Corps changes you, but MSF definitely gives you a different perspective on things.
It really does. It gives you a different perspective on things, and also like the timing that I went to was kind of I guess you could say a special time. It was right about when they were blending Fast Team and Marine Security Forces. So I ended up kind of going there in the perfect timing in regards to that. But yeah, it was very interesting opportunity for me. I had some, I guess you could say, challenges when I was at Camp Lejeune and got in some trouble, and I got the beautiful opportunity to take advantage of this new billet in Marine Security Forces. So lucky me.
we'll leave it at that. Sometimes opportunity graces itself with
Yeah.
different rappers. But okay, so you did that, and what was getting out like? Because we all go in, we're all different when we go in, but everybody's story getting out is has a couple different themes, but it's very very different from person to person, service to service, situation. What was it like for you?
Getting out for me was weird, you know. I didn't really have any very good plans. I didn't know really what I wanted to do, and to be fair, I planned on when I was basically checking out, checked out of Quantico, but I was planning to actually move to Europe and go live in Spain for a little while, and I didn't end up doing that, but I had full plans on doing that. But yeah, it was a little bit jagged, I guess you could say, because I didn't have any very good plans. I will say that when I was in my last duty station, I had a buddy that sold me like an old film camera, and I would go and take it on like training missions and different things around the world with me. And it kind of laid the seed for me creatively, and I wanted to pursue that a little further. Like I didn't know what it would become, but it really became a big part of my life. I got into branding. I got into like, commercial photography, and I started, getting stuff on billboards and editorials, and it became this thing. But it, honestly, a lot of it had to do with luck and an environment. So yeah, shout out to him.
It's funny. I was given a little Fuji 35 millimeter, Walmart special, and I took almost 1,000 pictures while I was in. And I was one of those crazy, there he is with the camera again, get away from me. But I got some cactus. People don't believe how big cactus can get. And I don't know about you, LaShawn, but I got some pictures of some brothers who are no longer with us. And man, those are priceless. Those are priceless. And then just certain things I'm like, wow, I'm really glad I did that. So I definitely understand that whole creative thing that can happen behind a camera. Absolutely.
I didn't, to your point, like I didn't understand the value of what I was doing at that time either. I was just
Right?
kind of exploring a thing. And I think the biggest thing that really stands out to me at this stage is just how fast the time goes. And to your point, people go, like, they pass on, they get injured, they move on in life, and you just don't really grab how fast, how young, and how vibrant your life was. And then you look back at those images and you're like snapped right back. You're like, oh my God, I looked like that. You know, I
Yeah.
didn't graze in my chin. Oh my goodness. It's a weird time. I had a buddy that I met with. This was about a month ago, and I hadn't seen him since we were in Camp Lejeune, and it was the time, like it felt like nothing had passed, but man, it was so weird because we look different now, and but we're very very similar than we were then, but more seasoned, luckily.
Season for certain, man. I think it's also true, LaShawn. You never know when the last time is you're going to say goodbye to someone or see them again. And so, to your point, man, those pictures are priceless. Those images are just priceless, priceless now.
Yeah, man, 100%.
I looked at your website, and we'll get into all that in a minute, but it really kind of the story you told about your mother really kind of like brought this all in focus real quick about who you are. And you get out, what started you on this journey to market theory, what you do now? Was it your mother's story? Do you want to share that, or was it a couple of other different things?
You know, um, when I was 6 years old, I was playing hide and go seek with my cousin and my sister, and I think I told you a little bit about this before, but essentially, I locked myself in a refrigerator in a basement, and I got trapped in there, and I was, screaming and clawing for air. And I think really that was the first moment that I discovered I needed freedom, like I needed oxygen. And my mom came to save the day, luckily, and that wasn't the first time or the last time she would save the day, but luckily she did that time. And I think the thing that really stood out for me right then was like, I need to have freedom. I need to figure out what that looks like. And I knew that she had some sense of what it was. And she also had like a creative bug type of thing. There was a lot more that she could have done.
And I always knew that. Like I knew there was a lot more she could have done. And by the way, she did a lot. Like she was in like seven different editions of Who's Who in American Women. Uh, at the time, her bio was longer than Oprah Winfrey's. And she had done so much stuff. She had her own television show where she would like interview like music artists and creative artists. So she knew Lionel Richie and Sammy Davis Jr. and Lena Horne and all these like superstars really well. She was really well known in what she did. And she ended up getting like kind of health started getting the better of her, right? And so she really couldn't move the way that she used to, and it really impacted her business. It really kind of like crumbled it in a lot of ways. And I always kind of felt like if she had more infrastructure, if she had more support, if she had more teams and economic power to do certain things, like she wouldn't have been in that position. And so I had always been kind of thinking like, wow, what could I have done differently? What can I learn from this and how can I employ it? I mean, the biggest lesson really was that like anything that you're doing is in exchange for everything, every other possibility in your life. And when you're trading that time for dollars, you're still trading the time. It's not really time that you're trading. It's literally your life that you're trading. And so and there are ways that people are using these things to make money and grow their awareness and elevate their brands and give them more freedom, but they're not necessarily trading their time for it. I had to know what that was. So yeah, she definitely was a big inspiration of why I would lean in the direction that I do today.
And the direction was to say, you know, when I'm out of the Marine Corps and I want to create this entity that allows me to have the freedom I want to go in the direction so my life
Well,
can be the kind of life I want to have. Is that what I get, or is it something else?
Well, at that stage, leaving the Marine Corps, it wasn't as clear for me. It was
Okay.
just like I want to explore what things could become. I don't know what that is. I know I'm good with people. I know I'm creative. But it really, when I started elevating my brand. Like I got into photography, like I said, editorials and billboards and magazines and stuff like that. I had a few big brands that really picked up my work. So I ended up seeing my stuff with Universal and Forbes and BET and Centric and VH1, which was amazing. However, I didn't feel like it was paying me to the degree that it should, given how much my stuff is getting out there. I always thought that if I got enough awareness, that it would just translate into money, and that wasn't necessarily the case. And so I had to kind of fix that piece of it. And during that journey, I met this guy who essentially he was also really passionate about photography and branding and that kind of thing. When he had this really big production studio that he paid for from the software company that he had, and through his software company, he was making millions and millions of dollars a month. And as we became friends, I discovered he didn't know any software, and so, um, in a I guess you could say stroke of luck conversation, I asked him one day, like, how did you build this like company where you're making millions of dollars a month and you don't know any software? And he said to me something that I would never forget, and that was, I don't need to know any software. I need to know some people who know some software. And I do. And so it really just kind of like the light bulb just went off. I was like, oh my God, like everyone's out here thinking that if they work hard enough and they just grit their teeth and they do everything day to day, do all the right things, they'll just make the money. And they won't because they have to trade their essence for it. And luckily at that point when I learned that lesson, it led me down a track where I started really kind of considering, well, how are people making money in their sleep? How are they making their lives scalable? How are they making their businesses scalable? What does that look like? What are the steps? Who else is doing this? How much can you make? And that really changed my whole entire outlook.
When did your outlook change too after you started exploring all these concepts and what it could do for you?
Yeah, well, it did change in terms of, first of all, knowing that it's a possibility. But then secondly, after I started doing it, I started trying it and learning how it's working and making some money at it and really kind of measuring against everything else I had done previously, and it wasn't even close. I was making way more money, I had way more freedom, I had way more flexibility, and I just knew right then I was like, okay, I need to do more of this. And as I started doing more of it, I felt like it was something important for people to share. Especially for me, like I came from like underserved backgrounds, like inner city schools and that whole thing. And I just, all the information I'd ever been told was just about how hard you can work your life away and not necessarily how you can, soar. And I really wanted people to get that.
So when did the idea become that I'm going to create an official company, I'm going to incorporate, I'm going to become a service provider, a consult, a teacher to other people who, you go back to your mother's example, you're trying to help them move past what she never could because, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is, does your mother's story still drive a lot of what you do?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely drives a lot of what I do, and why I do it in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, I want to say around 2014 is when I left software. I'd met my then now wife, who was a consultant in the marketing space, which also kind of like got my wheels turning. And I convinced her to leave her then consulting company to come work with me. And so I convinced her to come work with me because I was very confident.
Lechon, I mean, how does that work?
Well, it works because I was at the time very, I guess, notable in branding. So
Okay.
I knew that, like, hey, I can brand you. I can get you the awareness. I can make you look the way that you need to look. She had the skills, right? She had the skills. She was already a scholar, very knowledgeable in what she did, and it just so happened that she was helping organizations build online courses, but she was kind of like the money arm behind all this consultancy, and I didn't think she was getting enough awareness around that. And I was like, you need to be in the front. Let me put you in the front, and we can go and get more clients and find what to do. And that became like the beginning of the journey of what would become market theory, right? We had some luck along the way, but we took some really important steps. We took some really important steps that, given what they were, like, they were just high risk, because I didn't have like a lot of money, even leaving software, and it was going to really take something. But there was one particular step at this time that I think made a huge difference for me. And that's essentially, I went to this event, and at this event, we got invited to this business mastermind. And I thought to myself, if we could get into this business mastermind, we could connect with the right people, we can learn more about what they're doing. I had no the idea like what that would really be or what that would take. And when we got the bill for it, it was like $10,000. And I was like, oh my God. And I wasn't familiar with that kind of thing at this stage, like pay $10,000 to go to a private event type of thing. And I sold everything of value to go to it. And when I got there, things really changed a lot because I just didn't. I knew the people in there were successful, and to be fair, like, we really didn't belong yet. Like, we had the skills and people like us and all that kind of stuff. We just hadn't. We didn't have the experience with that. And I had this product that was probably around $2,500. I was selling for $2,500, not really selling that many of them. And when I got in this business mastermind, I discovered probably within the hour that nobody even in there was selling anything remotely that low. I was like, even the people that had offers that were similar to mine, they were like 10 times more expensive. And at the time, I was just thinking like, oh my God, like who was buying this?
Right.
Well, how do you get to the place where you even think that you could say this number to someone for this what you're offering? Like, how do you even get there psychologically? I didn't get the connection. And so it was probably a couple hours before I decided, like, you know what? I'm gonna bump our price. And I bumped it to probably 25K for this thing that we had. And I sold the first one within that week. And it was mind blowing. And it really gave me a big lesson in terms of like how price matches value or doesn't, and how market change, and who you're aiming this toward makes all the difference in the value of the problem that you solve for. But it was like really a massive shift for me. Obviously, we made some money and we made some new relationships. And these business owners were really doing well, like minimum seven figures, but quite a few of them were 8 and 9 figure businesses. So we were like learning their mindset, their challenges, what kind of tools that they use, and also building the right kind of connections. And it was a big deal for us at the time.
So is there an aspect, because I've been told this about stuff I do, that like there's going to come a point where you're going to have to put a dollar amount on what you do, and you should not sell yourself short to do that. So how do you, if you're, listening to you right now, understand what your value actually is, LaShawn?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's quite a few ways that we look at it. One of the things that you really need to do is you need to be able to assess the problem that you're solving for. Like, let's say that you have a business and you're offering a service or a product or something like that, right? When you're in a conversation with someone that wants to potentially buy or, kind of leverage your services, the conversation usually looks like you have a price, you're going to do a thing for them, and they may or may not buy that thing, right? But what's almost never a part of that equation is that if you don't offer them this service or they don't take advantage of your service, how this then impacts their business, right? Does it impact their, if it's awareness, does it impact their traffic? If they get a certain amount of traffic, how does that impact their sales and over how much time, right? Or is this a short-term problem solve or is this a long-term problem solve? Like even for simple things, let's say you're a videographer, you think you're selling video services, but you're really not. You're selling this opportunity that if someone buys your video services, that the right video could sell for them into eternity. It could sell for years and years and years on autopilot just because you were able to document them in the appropriate way. They think they're buying video services. You think you're selling it, but really you're selling this asset that then could sell for them in a positive way in perpetuity and paint for the rest of the world how extraordinary they are, just given your ability to document them. So you're not really even selling the thing that you think you're selling in most cases. And so to answer your question short term is like you really have to look at the value of the problem that you're solving for that organization or for that person, not the price and not what you think you're selling.
The value of the problem. Okay. That makes sense because the more complex the problem, the more impacts the org, the more value there is in getting it addressed. If you can meet that value, they're going to compensate you accordingly, if I understand you correctly.
If you understand how it impacts them, if you don't understand how it impacts them and you can't articulate it, they're not going to compensate you appropriately. And that's the real trick. It's like when you really understand how what you're going to provide for them is going to create a solution that has multipliers, and what those multipliers are long term, short term, right? Then you can say, hey, listen, I understand what me giving you this is going to do for your business or is going to prevent your business from being able to do. And this impacts you in this way. It's going to cost you this. It's going to take you this amount of time to figure it out yourself, right? You're trying to leverage the time based on me, right? And so if you can figure that out going into that conversation, it gives you a different position of leverage to have that conversation with. And if you can help articulate that to who you're selling it to, you have all the power.
You start market theory up with your wife, so you're truly a team members and you're truly, for each other. What was it like getting it going and starting to see, because it seems like you've had to bet on yourself multiple times in your life, but this is the big one. This has implications if it doesn't work, and you believe in yourself, so you're going to put the effort in. What was it like seeing it work after you two had come together, started this, and now we're talking?
Yeah, like I said, I'm pretty prone to taking calculated risks. I think that they're required. In my opinion, they're the toll that you must pay to get to where you want to get to. You have to take a specific set of risks. And I'm almost always willing to do that. I do think it was very, very challenging because there were a lot of things I didn't have figured out yet. Like I didn't really understand business. Luckily, I had paid a bunch of money to get around people that did understand business. And so I could leverage their experience and their challenges and their tools and strategies and things like that, which I would say probably sped up my growth journey by years and years and years. Like, thank God, you know. Um, but yeah, that was quite challenging. But I did once again have a few things that really went in my favor, and I think this happens if you throw your hat in the ring sometimes. You just get some, you get catch a windfall sometimes, right? I met a guy. Matter of fact, I met him at the event that was supposed to that was prior to me getting invited to the business mastermind, right? And he was doing at the time like virtual summits. This was fairly new. He was doing virtual summits, and I thought to myself, man, that's an interesting play, you know? So we get it in our head that, or let me back up. I get it in my head, and then I go to convince her, like, we should do some virtual summits, right? Because we had now been kind of like establishing ourselves as like, these kind of people in the online course industry. By the way, we got a little bit of notoriety because we were doing something quite unique. And that thing is, we were solving the problem of intention rates and engagement rates. And mostly in the marketing space, people didn't think that they cared about that. They really didn't, right? If they were making enough money, making enough sales, their thought process was like, well, I wouldn't get sales if it wasn't good. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that. You could still get sales if you are convincing enough. And if you say the right things, and if your packaging looks pretty enough, people will buy it. But it's after they buy it that they get disappointed, right? And most people don't even complain after that happens. They just don't go do business with you again. So our thought process was like, okay, well, what if we could solve that particular problem, right? And so we ended up creating this process using over 500 plus research studies of which learning strategies have like the highest degree of impact on someone's ability to consume content. A lot of words to say. We wanted to figure out how to get more people to get the most that they can out of a virtual learning environment. Now, luckily, my wife is a doctor of professional development. She's a lifelong educator and like a world-class trainer, right? And so I could go and sell that, and I did. But that was the problem that we went into the marketing industry to solve because they were mostly selling education and they had no idea how to make it happen. But they did know how to sell it. However, their thought processes were more of like, if I can get enough attention and I can get enough traffic, I can sell this thing and it's sold. Who cares what happens after that? And our argument was like, you should care because if you can serve more of those people, if the average completion rate is only 3 to 5%, what about the other 95% of your own audience? What if you had other offers that you could put in front of them? Well, if you've already disenfranchise them, you can't put it in front of them. You can't offer them that. And if you haven't really helped them solve those valuable problems that they had when they first were betting on you, you really can't, they don't want to go deeper with you. But what if they did? And what if you could? How would that then impact your business long term? Would they spend way more money with you? Would they stay way longer with you? Would they start recommending your business at a higher rate? The answer to that question is absolutely they will. And so that was what started getting us some notoriety. I know I started running off the mouth here to try to explain this, but the short answer is like once we figured out that component, we felt like if we can get the right partnerships, we can get a lot more traffic on what we were doing. And those virtual summits really helped us kind of figure that out.
So a virtual summit is kind of like a virtual networking meeting where it's a big Zoom room and you're doing presentations. Is that what that is? Layman's terms. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, it could be, right? Think of like a conference, but online, right? And so what we would do is I got this bright idea, which I tend to do, is like, if we go and do this virtual summit, how can we make it more valuable? And we approached a software company at the time, Thinkific, a learning management system, with the idea of doing an online course success summit because we knew like, hey, yeah, you can go and build an online course and make money, but there's a lot of other things that you need to know. You need to know copywriting, you need to know social media, you need to know email marketing, and we weren't experts at that stuff. So our idea was like, well, what if we went and got all the experts at that stuff to come to our virtual summit and teach them these other components? We could teach about online courses and we can teach in alignment with this learning management system because they sell a platform that people would put their courses on. And what if we can just get our people that we've been meeting in the industry to come talk about it on this virtual summit? We could get a lot of attention, we can get a lot of sales, and we can help a lot of people. And we did that. And a piece of that I wasn't really anticipating, and that was around like how we could get sponsorships. So we had convinced this company to come do the virtual summit with us, which they came on as a sponsor, but they gave us money. They also agreed to like market for our summit to their email list. So they put a ton of people on our email list, right? Thousands and thousands. And they also ran paid traffic ads for us. Now, if we were to try to go get that amount of like momentum and marketing ourselves, it would have probably cost us $5 to $10 million in Facebook ads. But instead, we had this like really cool venture partnership where they kind of fronted the bill for all the marketing because the audience we were going after were all the people that they wanted to get. And here's why it worked. If they were to go try to just throw ads at Facebook, it would have cost them $25 to $50 per acquisition per person that email opted in. And the way that we did it with this content, we were getting so much traffic that it came down to being about $5. So they were reducing their cost of acquisition by just participating with us. And so it was like a really smart play. And it just like really gave us a lot of momentum. And obviously we made a lot of friends and we helped a lot of people kind of figure out this thing.
I was curious because it's hard to get people to click that button. It's hard to engage with people, but it's a challenge you have to overcome. For a new business owner or for someone who, maybe they're not in business, maybe they're in something else, a nonprofit or what have you. What are some basic things you want to see from a potential client before they come to you for, guidance and your services?
I think the main thing for us is that they're open to what they don't already know. Like, a lot of times people come to us and they're already industry experts and they're like, I know a bunch of stuff. And we agree with that. Like, you know a bunch of stuff, but it's not what you know that's not giving you the momentum. It's what you don't know. It's what's inside of your blind spots that's impacting you that you don't have access to. And so sometimes people come to us and they're really smart and they're already very successful. So successful, in fact, that they often don't see what's in their way. Like, let me give you an example. We had this organization that came to us, and they were doing about $100 million a year in their online course, which is amazing. They're crushing it in marketing. They're doing incredible, right? Once we did an audit, though, of their program, we found that it had a 3.9% completion rate, meaning they were pretty much crapping the bed on serving their people, even though their intention was to do that. Now, they're obviously really good at marketing and they had a budget for they were putting toward their marketing, but really they didn't know how to deliver upon giving their people the right experience. And here's why this sucks is because they built the company based off of like healing their mom's gut health. And they were so passionate about doing that. And they had like 50 products on the back end that people could have bought. It's just that people weren't getting to the back end because once they bought the course, they got stuck there, they hated it, and they just disappeared, right? And so they really should have had $1 billion company that they ended up selling for a little over 100 million. That's not terrible, but like compared to what? It's terrible when you should have a multi-billion dollar company, right? A multi-billion dollar exit. So, I would say for people that are good for us, first of all, there's a range of people that we support in different ways. Some people come to us, they're just starting out. They have an idea. We have some different solutions to help them kind of get going and figure out how to get some momentum, get some early wins, some sales, some money. We can support them with that. If they're already kind of going already, like they're an author, speaker, coach, or something like that, consultant, we have a lot of experience working with them at this stage. Obviously, we've been doing it since 2014, and we can help them. And if they're an organization, we can show them how to take their organization and make it more human, and really help people in that way. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways that we could support them, but the main things are that they are open to the things that they don't know so that we can give them some real insight to this.
The customer doesn't always know best.
They
don't know. They literally don't know what they don't know.
They don't know what they don't know. Like they don't have enough they don't have enough insight and context into what's impacting them in most cases.
But I don't know about your line of work, but in my line of work, they don't know what they don't know, but it can be really an arduous exercise to get them to see a different viewpoint.
Yeah.
That's a lot of like billable time that your personality and knowledge transfer to get an outcome you're desired, right? I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, that's what I've experienced sometimes in my line of work.
Sometimes it's a challenge, you know, but like for me, it's kind of easy to take on that challenge because at the end of the day, like what we do is very, very scalable. So if it's something that I'm choosing to do or be a part of and it's not scalable, it's got to make sense. Meaning, we believe in the mission, we believe in the people, we believe that the skill set and the experience that we have can make a real difference for them. And if those things are out of alignment, they're just not a fit, right? And so we don't really stress over that. Like, I'm not trying to convince people of the thing they're convinced of. But if they know it's not working and they don't have a solution for it and they fall into our hands and come into a conversation with us, we are happy to help them revolutionize the way that they think about it, the systems that they use to do it, and also like how to get more momentum out of it. Like we do that, you know, and we do that at a very high level at this stage. Um, we were very fortunate because when we were targeting these like marketing company, it's not really marketing companies, we were targeting the marketing industry, but we ended up working with a lot of marketing companies, which was helpful for us because when we started like really working on the back end as consultants with these organizations and some of the top ones in the US, we really learned like a lot of the mistakes that they're making, like they, you know, in terms of how they support people. And we also learned like what systems they're using, how they think about it, how transactional they were being, which is not obviously not good if you want to build long-term relationships, but it can get you money. So how do you find that balance, right? But it helped us a lot, you know, as consultants, because when we left, we're like, okay, well, we understand marketing at a very high level now. You know, we understand like these systems, we understand how to use it, and then we understood how to bring it to earth when it comes to like really creating a positive outcome for people. So if they do come to us, we are very prepared to help them revolutionize their thought processes and probably their business as well.
You've been in business now for effectively over a decade at this time, right?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, you know, social media has changed in the last 10 years. Automation's changed in the last 10 years. You add in AI. So like with any business, there's changes. It just seems like in your world, you know, a tractor's been a tractor for, you know, 50 years before they really started changing, right? Even cars to a degree. But there's been a lot of changes compressed into a very short time. So just me being me, how do you adjust around those changes and still deliver to your clients and understand your purpose?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, the fundamentals are really the same. You know,
Okay.
if someone comes to you and they just they want to make more money, they come to us, they want to make more money, right? That's normally the argument. I mean, they present it as though they want to help the world, and good on them. Like they want to help people, and I get it. Like they want to help them, and also they understand that it's profitable to help them. How do they make it profitable? Okay, we help solve that for them. Um, but mostly for us, like we've been since the beginning, really kind of like technologically advanced. So we've been on the edge in terms of what's happening with AI. We've been on the edge in terms of what's happening with marketing and learning management systems and all this kind of stuff. And when these new innovations come along, we're very nimble. So we're able to take them, learn how to implement some of these things to make what we do even more efficient. And we do that, you know? So for us, it has been really a multiplier in a lot of ways because now we can use things that used to be a really long drawn out process for us to do and make them way more efficient. Everything from like image production to copywriting and video editing and all these kinds of landing page development and web development and software development, like all these things have become significantly easier and made it so much more made us so much more powerful than we were originally because we would have to go get large amounts of people to help us do this stuff and it would be slow. And so now it's not slow and also it's not as complex. So it just allows us to be much more impactful and gives us a lot more velocity behind everything that we do.
So it seems like, again, Marine Corps style here, you know, and I was Air Wing, LaShawn.
Okay. Yeah.
The base element is still the story and the relationship to move the goal and the outcome forward. That's the base. And to me, that's hasn't changed if I understand you correctly. All the other elements help you do it faster, better, stronger.
Yeah, the technology helps us do it better, faster, stronger. And to be fair, like there we're in the people business, and
That's what I'm
everybody is.
saying.
We're in the people business, man. Like that 100%. Like there's even with these organizations, we have conversations with them, and it's just like on the other side of the organization is the people, right? Like, and so yeah, we're in the people business, and we just help people understand how to be more efficient with the way that they use these systems to create more scale and to create more monetization for themselves. And do we add technology into that? Yes, we do, because it just allows us to really multiply ourselves in our output. So yeah, but we're in the people business. And I will add this, not only are we in the people business, but we understand that the technology is speeding up. The technology is speeding up. The pressure of people feeling like they need to make something happen. The costs of things are speeding up and increasing, right? So we feel like it's more impactful to just really dig deeper, right? A lot of people are trying to go wide. Like, how do they go wide? We feel like it's more impactful to dig deeper. And for a lot of people, that means they can like build reinforced communities, like serve people in a way that's going to make a real difference for their business, but actually care about it versus like what you can sell them. And for years we've been like this, but we're not even interested in doing business with people that we wouldn't um, want to be friends with. And it doesn't mean that we are friends with everyone. It means that we would want to we would feel good inside of those conversations. If I give you my experience, my knowledge, and my skill set, and I lend any amount of energy toward that, I would feel good about that contribution, regardless of if we had a monetary exchange. And so that allows me to really take the best of me and the best of my relationships and my best of my understanding and really give to you in a way that gives you some momentum. So we do very good at that because so we get to pick and choose because what we do is very scalable. So when it comes to doing something not scalable and it's like a one-to-one thing, we can be selective about it. So yeah, but we're in the people business and everybody is.
Well, the reason I want to emphasize that it is so I've played in your world a little bit with other people, and it's almost like the person's removed and it's people, process, and technology with the real focus on process and technology, and people are just there to look at what's created, sign off on the contract, and get the PO in order. Whereas it seems like and I remember meeting you at MCC, at the time we're recording this last month, and you really didn't focus on what I did in terms of number of downloads, listeners, emails like that. You kind of want to understand the broader story of what I did in my journey to understand me better than other people did. Where I've gone to these, and it's you got to have a certain number of listeners, followers, downloads, metrics, and that's going to indicate if I want to talk with you. But I did notice in that forum, you didn't start off that way. You kind of want to understand who I was. And it wasn't just me. You did it with other people too. And I felt that was very different than what I usually run into. And I found it refreshing.
Well, first of all, thank you, man. I'll take that I'll take that to heart. I won't take that lightly. I do feel as though like it's my perception that people that I'm not friends with yet are just friends waiting to happen. If they're a stranger, they're friends waiting to happen.
What a Roy Rogers moment, Lechon.
Yeah, man. I really feel that way. And when I do meet people, I think it's a real mistake when people go into things and they're hyper transactional about whatever it is, metrics or this or that, or kind of beating their chest. I really think that it puts barriers in between the space of the relationships that you're hoping to build. If you're just thinking about what you can get from it or what you can take from it versus like what you could give to it, very different thing. And so
yeah.
For me, if I show up in any environment, my real intention underneath my skin is to be present, to be interested, to be curious, and to look at things from the angle of how can I make it better? Or how can I really connect with this person? And some of that is natural. Some of that's natural. Some of this might be an adaptation. I went to 14 different schools before I got out of high school. But I will say that like everything extraordinary that's happened in my life at this stage has been really on the back end of some amazing relationship I've been able to build. Like some relationships, someone I spoke to, felt a something about it. Was impacted by the way that they interacted with me, opened doors for me, made calls for me, made introductions for me. And I don't take those things lightly either. And so I do think there's something really special about just meeting a person eye to eye, face to face, heart to heart, without making it mean something and trying to extract from it. But I think the beautiful things happen when you do that and you just show up.
Well, so many people, veterans, active duty, civilians, laymen, I think miss that. There's such a hyper focus on either extracting value out of every minute or making sure that billable hour is fully blocked and that money's collected, that they forget that we're in the human experience. And I'm not in your line of work, but what I do is in my line of work is I want to understand who's behind the product and do they stand behind it before I let them into my world. And I think a lot of people miss that. The power of the relationship is widely understated. As you go into, and when this releases, it'll be almost halfway through the year. As you go through the second half of 2025 and into 2026, what do you see for your line of work and how that can relate to the veteran experience, Lechon?
Well, I've been working on a project. It's called Entry, and Entry. Funny enough, like I wasn't even planning to talk about this, but since we're
All
talking
right,
about
let's go.
since we're talking about relationships and things like that, and my belief in like what's possible once you have the right relationships, is that you're able to elevate your profile. You're able to gain a certain level of access. You're able to get the right introductions, and it makes a real difference. Like it makes it just closes the distance between what you want to do and what you want access to. And so Entry is really a software platform that I'm building. It's like an AI booking platform that helps you get basically booked on stages so that once you create something or you're an author, you're a speaker, you're a coach, you then get the opportunities to get on stage and speak about it and get the right eyeballs on you and get the right opportunities to sell your thing. But more than anything, you get to elevate your profile and get the appropriate amount of awareness that you should be getting, given your experience and your interests, right? So Entry has been really, really good. There's an arm of it that's supposed to be kind of like a series of networking events that we're going to do once a quarter, that we're planning to turn into its own conference. And so it's really all about like elevating your profile and getting the right introductions, and seeing where those introductions lead. And so it's really been kind of a passion project. I've been putting a lot of work in behind the scenes because I really believe that is like a missing piece. Like when it comes to business, I can help people with like monetization stuff. But if they don't have like an infrastructure in place where people are knowing about them and people are trying to find out about them, or if they're not getting enough awareness, it just doesn't really help them that much unless they're already set. And so Entry is designed to help people get that early stage momentum, get the right partnerships, brand deals, elevation and awareness so that you can really, take off in your life. And I'm very excited about where that's going. So over the next, couple quarters, that's what I'll be focusing on behind the scenes.
That's very interesting because I talk to a lot of authors here on Oscar Mike Radio, and I'm doing my own writing project. We'll talk about that, offline. But one of the things a couple authors have told me, and it's almost becoming a common theme, is sure, there's work in writing the book and there's work in editing the book, but the real battle, if you want to call it that, is the marketing and getting your name out there. And it's I've had a couple veterans, LaShawn, tell me that, hey, if I had known how hard it was to get my book in front of people, I would have allocated money and time differently. And the last part of that is, I'm finding out, as I've been told very bluntly, get ready to pay a middleman to put your book in front of certain people to speak at certain conferences, author groups, so on and so forth. You've almost got to pay like not an agent, but like an agent to put you in those positions. And if you don't have that, you're never going to go anywhere at all. And so I'm very interested to see how this platform turns out.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to get the momentum because you got to figure, first of all, there's a lot of noise in the world. And if you don't have the right awareness yet, you've got to cut through the noise. And early stage, who cares about what you do? Like nobody cares yet.
That's
They
true.
don't
That's
know
true.
you. They don't know what it's like to spend time with you. They don't know why you care. They don't know why you're trying to tell them this. They don't know that you're even like a good source of this information, a valid source for this information. There's a lot of unknowns. And so you really have to pay your dues. And your dues can be leveraged by some else, some other relationship, some other, like you said, like a booking partner or something like that. But if you get the right amount of awareness and you get the right attention, can't you leverage that too? You can leverage that too. You can get people finding out about your book and wanting to know more and hearing you talk for a little bit and making decisions about if they like you or not and if they would like to go deeper. That's really hard to do when you don't have enough traffic and you don't have enough eyeballs. But if you can solve for that piece and really put yourself in the right light, I think that when people see you enough, if you are actually a good source and you are trustworthy and likable and interesting and creative, and people want to do stuff with you, even if you don't have a lot of the other things figured out, they might even be the people that bring that to the table. And that's been my experience. Like I've been to the Grammys. I'm not a Grammy award winning like music artist. Like I play sometimes on my, computer making stuff, but like I've been invited to the Grammys. I've had stuff on billboards, editorials, magazines, met tons of celebrities, all just because I knew someone else who was like, man, you guys have to meet this guy. And it's quite I go to LA. Sometimes I get put into movies because I have a friend that's like a big time casting director out there. I'm not an actor, but I make some good friends, and I think that like getting the right amount of awareness just allows other people to be able to do that for themselves, for the thing that they're passionate about. So I'm excited about it.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, it was great meeting you at Military Creator Con 2025 in Orlando, and had a great time. And it was, very cool, because we both started about the same time in our respective, areas. Things have changed in the last 10 years. 10 years ago, that wasn't even a blip on the radar. We didn't have a place at all. And so it was nice seeing all these other creators and business people there from the military space. So, looking forward to seeing what the entry platform looks like. And I've just had a great time talking with you just now.
Yeah, man. First of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for all the kind words as well. I feel the same energy, same thankfulness. Really just a warm human, and I was excited to be there with you. And I look forward to connecting further. I will keep you updated how things progress. We're putting a lot of work in behind the scenes, having lots of meetings and stuff. But the main thing is like for people to be able to elevate their profile and get more awareness so they can live a life that they love. And for me, that seems like the right thing to be doing at this stage. So yeah, thank you for having me.
So, well, most important thing, if someone's listening to this, how do they connect with you? How do they, reach out to you and look at Market Theory as a provider in this space, Lechon?
Yeah, actually, we got a couple different brands, but yeah, you can go to markettheory.us or you can just find me on social media. Probably more recently, I'm using LinkedIn a lot, so you can find me on LinkedIn. It's just Lechon Kirb, LeChon Kirb, and putting different kind of content there, putting my rants there, sometimes putting videos or ideas for people to share and stuff like that. And that's probably the easiest way to grab me. But yeah, you can find me anywhere on the net if you just look up Lechon Kirb, and I look forward to connecting with you guys. And if I can be helpful, I will certainly do that.
So I'm going to have his LinkedIn URL and the website link in the Oscar Mike Radio show post. You can reach out to him there. He's extremely knowledgeable. It's not going to be a waste of time to reach out to him. Lechon, I want to thank you for coming on Oscar Mike Radio. Learned a whole lot today. Can't wait to see the entry platform. And as we say in Oscar Mike Radio, we are mission in flight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
The biggest fear Gold Star families have that their child will be forgotten.
We need to never forget freedom wasn't free.
It's the fact that they give us the life we have now. We should remember them and give thanks to them.
If I can be a part of something today that's going to make the surviving family of any of these veterans, these heroes, feel better tomorrow, then it's worth it.
That one wreath symbolizes one family that was able to smile because of the generous donations.
To sponsor a wreath and honor a veteran, visit wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Thank you for listening and watching Oscar Mike Radio, where our active duty service members and veterans are in action and the mission is in flight. Oscar Mike Radio is an oversized load Co-Sinister One production. If you are a veteran or know a veteran who needs help, please dial 988 and press 1 for the Veterans